This is One on One. We are honored to welcome back our good friend, Steven Goldstein, Executive Director of the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect. Good to see you, Steven.
Great to be here, Steve.
Now, what did you just say about our studio?
Well, I was just saying, the last time I was at your studio, it was in beautiful Paterson, New Jersey.
Beautiful.
Listen, I love New Jersey. I'm a New Jerseyan, but you're in Lincoln Center now. These digs, you're doing well. Rising up in the world.
You happen to hang out with the PBS flagship station.
This is awesome.
That's what happens.
Mazel tov, as my people say.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So tell us about the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect. It is all about what?
So the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect is about fighting prejudice in America and fighting for a kinder and fairer world, the world of Anne Frank's dreams. Now, that's put us in a position of speaking out very often against President Trump. We are a Jewish organization that fights for justice for everyone. So we are repulsed when President Trump tries to institute a Muslim ban preventing refugees from coming into this country. Because, Steve, we ask, might one of them be the next Anne Frank? Shouldn't we try to save every Anne? We oppose the wall on the Mexican border. What hungry, needy immigrant who seeks the American dream will we deny? Again, who will be the next Anne Frank?
By the way, for those who don't know who Anne Frank was and why she matters so much, go ahead.
Right. Anne Frank was a young girl who died at age 15 toward the end of World War II in a concentration camp. She was captured by the Nazis in Amsterdam, and she wrote a famous diary of her hiding in Amsterdam before she was captured by the Nazis. And she wrote a book not just about history, but exhorting the rest of us to fight for social justice. And it's one of the world's great best-selling books of all time.
You know, Steven, we've known each other a long time, and by the way, you headed up a previous organization that's still doing great work called?
So I used to head, and I founded Garden State Equality in 2004. And Steve, I'll tell you, I'm having a good time in my job now, but when I'm old, and I'm getting there already, I will look back at my days of Garden State Equality and say those were the happiest days of my life.
And very much tied to the effort for marriage equality.
Yes, and that I was able to play a role in that. And a couple of movies were made about me along the way, which is heady stuff. Listen, that's the joy of a lifetime. And, you know, Steve, when I fought for marriage equality in 2004, actually earlier, 2002, I was spit at and kicked at and laughed at by Democrats, by liberal Democrats. And do you know who one of the few people in the entire country supported marriage equality was back then? You. You courageously, and I don't mean to embarrass you because I know you're here as a journalist, but you stood up for our rights for marriage equality back when it wasn't fashionable. When I was getting kicked in the Guyons, can I say that on PBS?
You already did.
Yeah, I did. When I was getting kicked in the Guyons and liberal Democrats treated me like dirt, they don't remember that today. I remember all their names. Thought that I didn't have the right to marry. You stood up for us. You stood up for our dignity, and you stood up for our freedom to marry, and I will never forget that for as long as I live.
I appreciate you saying that. It wasn't a difficult thing to do. It was the right thing to do. So let me ask you this. You know, the things you say about President Trump, I try to square them, particularly with the fact that his son-in-law, Jared, is Jewish. His daughter, you know, whom he thinks the world of, his grandchildren.
So, Steve,
square that for us.
Yes, here's what offends me about that.
Yeah.
I see President Trump trotting out his son-in-law, his daughter, his grandchildren because they're Jewish. Here's my response to that.
Yeah.
They're not mere talking points for him to trot out. I judge him on his policies. If I have time for a quick story, I interviewed Donald Trump when I was a journalist years ago. I was a TV producer.
I know.
And Donald Trump came across about 15 years ago as one of the most liberal people I ever met in my life. Now, it's true it was 15 years ago, but he was to the left of me.
That's who he was.
I couldn't keep up with him. He was to the left of me, meaning way to the left of every social issue. He was not to the left of me on economic issues, but he was what I would call sort of a Bill Clinton centrist Democrat, or maybe an establishment Republican. He was nothing like the man he is today. The problem, Steve, in history is that the most dangerous people in the world are those who don't believe what they say. The people who will say and do anything to accumulate power. Those are the people we have to be careful of. So I don't think that Donald Trump believes a word of what he says. I think he's probably in his heart a moderate to liberal.
Why can't he say it?
Well, he can't say it, by the way, because that's not how he won the Republican nomination with a far-right
But he's
base.
already there now. He's the
Right.
president.
So my question that I wonder is, he's at a juncture. Is he going to align himself with the Freedom Caucus, which is never coming around to anything reasonable? Or will he align himself with moderate Democrats and Chuck Schumer? There is a recipe for Donald Trump's success. Will he have the courage to take it? If Donald Trump would just be an establishment Republican who's moderate on social issues, who's a little center-left, center-right on fiscal issues, who knows Chuck Schumer, and I have no doubt that they could probably get together and make deals. If he would form that coalition of moderate Republicans and Democrats, he'd get stuff done. Does he have the courage to do that?
But I want to go back to something I said before. When you said trot it out respectfully, he seems to have great respect for his son-in-law. And his son-in-law, as young as he is, appears to have a political philosophy that doesn't seem all that different from yours.
So I hear, because I'm from New Jersey and I know enough people who know Jared. I've never met him, right? Here's my dispute about that. And I want to go back to the issue of refugees. Jared Kushner's grandparents came here as survivors of the Holocaust. Then why isn't he whispering in his father-in-law's ear, hey, Dad, how could we do this to Muslims?
How do you know he's not?
I look at policies, and Donald Trump doesn't seem to relent on the Muslim refugee issue, on that issue. Now, let me say this. He may be whispering in Donald Trump's ear, and maybe we will see the results. Now, I don't know Jared personally, but I know a lot of people who know him. And you have a point, Steve. There are people who tell me, Steven, he and Ivanka are every single day trying to whisper in Donald Trump's ear and fight back against Steve Bannon. And if they can meet you in person, other than your criticisms of their father and father-in-law, they'd agree with you on the issues. They're trying. I do hear that. I do.
Do you believe, Stephen, that we as a country are as divided politically and also, it's just more than politics. I don't want to make too much of this. There are some of my friends, a significant number of my friends, who actually voted for Donald Trump. There are times I sense that those who voted for Trump and those who didn't actually can't talk.
Right. So
it's not even like who they voted for. They actually can't talk.
So, Steve, here's the difference. Years ago, people like Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan would get together after. I hate to sound like a cliche, but some of my best friends happen to be Republicans, including in New Jersey, where I live, in the New Jersey legislature. There are Republicans who I absolutely adore and who I agree with on some issues, but not many. That doesn't happen anymore. Let me tell you what happens. Death threats. I think you asked me before the show, how have I learned, what did I learn from Garden State Equality and my fight for LGBT rights, and now that I'm working for a national organization in my fight for broader rights? I learned that the country is almost irretrievably polarized in this sense. I receive death threats. I work with police. They tell me I should wear a Kevlar vest. Every time I go after Donald Trump, I absolutely receive death threats. So the syllogism works like this. I go after Donald Trump, people don't defend him, they go after me. And you would think that if I were criticizing Donald Trump, that I were criticizing some deity. So if I say Donald Trump violates civil and human rights, I get called the most vicious names you've ever seen, and I get messages that say, you better watch it, watch your life. And I'm not the only one, and that's what exists in America.
Is there a part of you, in the time we have left, Stephen, I'm curious about this, given the organization that you're heading up right now, taking it in such a political direction for you as a leader, but wanting to bring people together, is there a contradiction there?
No, I'll tell you why. We hear from people all across the country, including Muslims and immigrants, thanking us for our work. And we're starting a Jewish-Muslim collective, an African-American Jewish collective, a people of color collective. We are bringing people together, but how can you bring people together unless your voice is known? I'll tell you this, Steve, there's one thing I've learned, if I can conclude with this. The irony of kindness is that winning kindness sometimes involves unkind fights. And I wish the world were otherwise.
You don't shy away from the fight, do you?
I don't. But here's the dirty little secret.
A few seconds, go ahead.
It's about resilience. It's not that I don't cry when I'm attacked, but I wake up every single morning saying it's a new day. There's a new battle to be won. It's my responsibility to try to change the world today.
My good friend, Steven Goldstein, Executive Director of the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect. By the way, who played in the movie?
Steve Carell played me. Well, terrible. I tried so hard.
We'll talk.
We'll talk.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Englewood Hospital and Medical Center, Caldwell University, TD Bank, Qualcare Inc., Kessler Foundation, the North Ward Center, and by the New Jersey Office of the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.